Hello, my name is Shamita Balan and my matrix number is 273077. In accounting, costing system is an important framework to help firms and businesses to decrease their operation costs by analyzing and controlling certain items. All these years, companies were using traditional costing system for decision making and control purposes. Recently, a new costing system was discovered to match with the developing companies. Activity-based costing (ABC) is a new method that is based on premise that products consume activities, activities consume resources, and resources consume costs. There are two stages in ABC, where the first stage includes the resources that do not fall into the direct cost, and the second stage where each activity's cost is attached to a product in proportion to a selected measure of their individual workloads. There are a few reasons why the traditional costing system was replaced by activity-based costing. The number one reason is because the traditional costing system does not provide non-financial information such as cycle time and turnover rate in a company. Inaccurate information and predominant overhead costs are also other reasons for the replacement. When designing activity-based costing, the objective should be clear for successful implementation. Some objectives that a company can use to provide information about manufacturing activities with the objective to motivate and support waste elimination programs, or to provide information about non-manufacturing activities that support cost reduction in these areas. The cycle of ABC system starts with creating objectives and ends with implementation. After setting the objective, the firm needs to hire a team just to monitor the system. A perfect team consists of 4 team members. There should be a team leader, an accountant, a production supervisor, and an industrial engineer. Next, the team should analyze organizational issues to be considered in the framework design. Identifying the activities, primary cost drivers, activity cost pool, secondary cost drivers, and cost objectives are the following steps for a perfect activity-based cost system. For a successful implementation of an ABC system, management should be convinced to change the traditional costing system because ABC is quite different from existing system. The primary aim of the new system is not to create an elegant and technically robust solution, but to provide a solution that will change the behavior. Thank you.
Thank you, Shamita. I am Rabeto Atira binti Abdurrahman with matric number 281424 will present the origin of activity-based costing. In the 1970s, the activity-based costing method was developed in the manufacturing industry to handle the issues of traditional cost-price calculation. In the late 1980s, Professor Robert Kaplan and Rubin Cooper designed activity-based costing in the United States. It can be considered a modern alternative to absorption costing as it enables managers to gain a more comprehensive view of product and customer net profitability. This improves the business ability to make value-based and thus more effective decisions. Activity-based costing focuses on cost drivers or the behaviors that increase costs, while traditional absorption costing is primarily concerned with volume-related drivers such as labor hours. Activity-based costing incorporates transaction-related factors such as the number of orders received. Thus, long-term variable overheads previously classified as fixed costs and can be traced to products. Next, I will present the development of activity-based costing. Before there was activity-based costing, there was cost accounting. Cost accounting works well for the item or service-based firms to generate the actual cost of manufacturing an item or fulfilling a service. The direct costs of completing a project were put in with the indirect cost of overhead to arrive at the actual price. Over the years, several cost accounting methods developed due to the flaws of the simple cost method. Manufacturing and processing companies found it is difficult to implement cost accounting since tracking the processes was complex. A paper mill, for example, purchases lumber to create a variety of different goods using various procedures. One tree may generate a ream of paper and some marketable byproducts. It was almost hard to track the exact cost of the tree utilized for each particular product created or job performed. These businesses subsequently devised what they called process costing. Process costing keeps track of the cost for each process or department rather than for each work or unit. The cost of producing the paper and the cost of byproducts are assigned to the process. The indirect costs are also assigned to the process. Cost accounting and process accounting are difficult for companies with complex procedures and manufacturing practices, such as a company that uses various raw materials to generate a variety of commodities. Activity-based costing was founded in response to overcoming these challenges by segmenting production into its core activities. After this division, the cost of these activities are calculated and assigned to products based on how much of each activity is needed to produce a product. Alright, that's all from me. I will pass the presentation to the next presenter. Thank you.
Moving on to the next section, I, Nur Alifa Elena binti Rosli, with matrix number 281515, will give a brief overview of the changes made during the implementation of the Activity-Based Costing System, ABC. As mentioned in the prior section, Professor Robert Kaplan and Robin Cooper established the Activity-Based Costing System in the 1970s, and they also outlined a method for implementing it that includes 4 key steps. The first step of the method is identifying and classifying activities related to the products. Various approaches such as interview, survey, observation, or recycling approach could be employed to identify those activities. Following that, the activities should be categorized into their hierarchical level of cost based on whether they are at the unit, batch, customer, or facility level. The second step is estimating and applying the cost of resources consumed by the respective activities. Next, the cost driver rate for the activities is calculated in the third step. The cost driver here is referring to the entity that would stimulate the cost of the resources required by the activity. So, the cost driver rate represents the average cost of resources consumed per unit of the cost driver for the respective activities. And the final steps for implementing the ABC system is assigning the cost of the activities to the products by applying the cost driver rate calculated in the previous step to the products. Those 4 steps are required to effectively adopt the activity-based costing ABC system into a company. However, since its introduction in the 1980s, the early activity-based costing system, or also known as the conventional activity-based costing, has uncovered many pitfalls when implementing the system. The process of identifying and calculating the cost of activities itself is not only expensive but also time consuming. It is also hard to adjust because the method unable to capture the complexity of the actual operations. So, a more streamlined and customized ABC method named Time-Driven Activity-Based Costing has emerged in response to the criticism of the conventional activity-based costing. The time-driven ABC is the simplified version of the conventional ABC, only that it involves assigning the time and cost of the activities to the cost object. Not to mention that it is also cheap and not as expensive as the conventional ABC. The implementation method consists of 6 steps, where the first step is identifying the various group of resources to perform the activities, and the second step is to determine the cost of each group of resources, which is also known as the cost of capacity supplied. The next step is to calculate each group's practical capacity. The word practical capacity here refers to the maximum quantity of output that resources can sustain over time. So after determining the practical capacity, we divide the cost of capacity supplied by the practical capacity to determine the capacity cost rate for each group. The fourth step is to estimate the time required to complete each activity, which can be done through direct observation or even interviews. The fifth step is to multiply the unit time by the capacity cost rate to determine the cost driver rate for each activity. And in the last step, the cost per activity is calculated by applying the cost driver rate for each activity performed in the department. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. Now I'll pass the floor to the next member. Thank you.
Thank you, Alifa. Assalamualaikum. I am Ashila binti Ismail, metric number 281539 will explain about evolution of ABC system throughout the years. So based on the discussed article, there are several information that can be extracted related to this subtopic. First, stages of evolution are interrelated and therefore decision made at other stage influences the decision made at other stages also. Second, since the early stages of the method, the scholars have tried to develop specific application and extension. Third, each stage have significant consequences that reduce the complexity to the costing. And fourth, ABC system has passed through many stages of development to reach the currently familiar form. And as for the article that I've chosen, written by Maria Moiselo, throughout the years, ABC models have gone through some evolution, and as for the ABC models, it has 4 stages of evolution. Each stage has been concentrated on cost classes of variable magnitudes capable of delivering usable information at various planning and programming levels. So as for the first stage, is divided into the 3 phases. First phase called as non-formal introductory phase. This phase is considered as complex version of the traditional system of cost accounting, although the models are classified into variety based for indirect cost imputation, but they are not yet called as activity-based costing. The second phase in the first stage is in the early 80s. In this phase, there are some significant of activity-based costing were found and officially stated in comparison to previous methods. Next, the third phase in the first stage is in the beginning midway through the 80s. In this phase, it defined by a recognition of ABC contribution to the decision-making process through more accurate cost and product profitability information, as well as proponent responses to theoretical objection of the concept. This phase also identified ABC system as separate system. Also, in this phase, the information needed to construct the model was identified. The methods for recognizing the cost drivers and the criteria for choosing them were defined, and the techniques to classify the aggregation of costs were determined. Moving on the second stage of evolution of ABC models. So as for the second stage, the models shift the focus from product to process. Unlike the first stage models, which begin by identifying the activities with which costs were connected, the second stage models begin by identifying the process productivity, sales, distribution, and administration, and then matching the activities to the processes. The main goal of the first generation models was to remedy an inaccuracy in overhead allocation to product cost by cost accounting systems. But as research progressed, it became evident that ABC could be used for more than just that. The models developed in this phase were an extension of those developed in the previous stage, since they continue to focus on internal operations and provide an analysis of tactical costs but not yet of strategic costs. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Hi, my name is Fariani Nalia Anapita with metric number 272926. I'm going to present for the third stage and fourth stage of ABC model evolutions. First of all, I'm going to explain for the third stage. During third stage, ABC model is used for strategic planning. which is to extend the analysis from internal to external activities to the business unit. There are several functions of ABC model during the third stage. The first one is to analyze the cost to specify accurately the cost of supplied products or services. Second, to enable the decision makers to take wise pricing decisions. Third, to trace the relationship between activities and processes, and then between the processes and business unit. ABC model has become the best test system in analyzing and estimating the cost for specific objective during the third stage. According to the Turney and Stratton 1992, ABC model has two-dimension model, which is the cost view concentrates on allocating the cost, which is occurs two stages. At the first stage, the resources costs are allocated to the activities through the cost drivers, which is also linked to these resources. At second stage, the activities costs are loaded on the cost target regardless if it was a product or a service. Next, I'm going to explain for the fourth stage. At fourth stage, ABC model is an integral component of business performance management solutions, which is also according to the Turney and Stratton. ABC model is also a multifaceted algorithm and database for financial and organizational informations. Besides that, ABC model has become a new profitability management tool, which is to increase the analytic power and the effectiveness, which is also depends on the ABC informations. ABC information becomes the important source of performance measure. For example, in the process dimension of scorecard, activity cost provides for the focal point for target setting, and also the scoring goes around the process performance. In the financial planning point of view, ABC model is a system that combines with forecasting and analytic techniques to support the fact-based scenario development during the fourth stage. In addition, ABC model is also to support the formulations of long-term plans and budgets consistent. That's all from me. Thank you.
My name is Shamita Balan and my matrix number is 273077. In conclusion, there are many benefits in applying activity-based costing system, but there are disadvantages too. The most obvious advantage is cost reduction. The detailed analysis of activities and costs that are required for costing provide an enhanced visibility and a new perspective on overhead costs. When the costs are high and the value of a product is low, the activity becomes a target for a cost reduction and improvement. Next, it helps in performance measurement. The information provided by ABC on cost drivers and cost driver rate shows that there are potentially powerful influences on the behavior of staff, and they are used as performance measures. These measures can compare over time or across production units. ABC also helps with decision making. The accurate and detailed information by an ABC system assists management in making decisions about product pricing and product profitability. Moreover, ABC also provides information related to both the setting and using of overhead budgets. When a higher volume of cost driver is expected, an increased commitment of resources may be justified. It will provide a detailed framework for analyzing cost variance. As for the disadvantages, ABC might improve product costing accuracy, but there is no guaranteeing that its output represents the true product or service cost of an organization, as it does not eliminate the need for all apportionment and allocation. Not all tasks can be directly linked to individual products, and as demonstrated with miscellaneous overhead costs in this project, they will need to be allocated in a more traditional way simply by dividing the total cost per year into the total labor hours per year and allocate on a labor hours basis. ABC system also requires a considerable investment of resources to design, implement and operate. There can be managerial difficulties in dealing with mismatch between formal departments and activities. Nevertheless, it is clear that ABC system is much better comparing to the traditional costing system. To sum it all up, ABC system is more suitable for developing companies as it gives more accurate information and making decision making easier. Thank you.